Today, I talk about good breasts and bad breasts.
Flicker theory, without a spin the cord. Flicker theory, without a spin the cord.
Hello, Tadas Spinnaker here. Welcome to Flickr Theory Reviews. Today, we're looking at Melanie Klein's essay called Envy and Gratitude. It is often said that Melanie Klein's psychoanalytic prestige is almost proportionate to her Freud's. Undoubtedly, her influence on contemporary psychoanalysis is immense. We wouldn't have the psychoanalysis of today without Klein. Even though at the beginning she was supposed to simply follow the footsteps of Freud and merely comment on his methods while treating them as dogmas. It would be a total understatement to say that she managed to find her own original voice within history of psychoanalysis. Ultimately, Klein reached conclusions, unraveled methods, and manifested psychopathologies, often in a very different way from that of Freud's. Melanie Klein, in fact, owes to psychoanalysis a great deal. Before she became a psychoanalyst, she suffered from a severe depression and she was, in general, extremely weak mentally. Uh, this makes me think of Jung, who talked about the wounded healers, right? Yes, psychoanalysts are also people. They do suffer from lunacies of various kinds. So Klein was suffering badly when she was young, but then, get this. In the year 1914, she found psychoanalysis. Huzzah! She read Freud's work on dreams and found it captivating, as I'm sure all of us do. Then she met Sandor Ferenczi in Budapest, studied with him, and long story short, she became a psychoanalyst, and a damn good psychoanalyst at that. Also, I should mention that due to Klein's unyielding intellectual commitment, she may be partly responsible for the rivalry between two schools of psychoanalysis: the London School, which is represented by Klein, and the Viennese School, represented by Anna Freud. These two schools often clashed on topics of children analysis, and later on, after Freud's death, these schools severed all ties. It was a squabble, not seen since Michelangelo and Da Vinci. Melanie Klein is famous for such concepts as paranoid schizoid position, the depressive position. She's also famous on her fresh take on sexuality, with her emphasis on the hate-love balance. And also, Klein is known for her work on envy. And that is exactly what I'm going to be discussing today. So let's jump right into it. The paper, Envy and Gratitude. Envy as a concept is immensely important when considering Kleinian psychoanalysis. So let's immediately contextualize the term envy. What is so distinct about envy? Envy as a concept is immensely important when considering Kleinian psychoanalysis. So let's immediately contextualize the term envy. What is so distinct about envy? Envy, says Klein, is the angry feeling that another person possesses and enjoys something desirable. The envious impulse being to take it away or to spoil it. In Klein's opinion, envy is very different from jealousy or greed. Jealousy, according to Klein, is essentially concerned with love that the subject feels is his due and has been taken away. Basically, Klein is describing jealousy as the sensation of being deprived of the loved person. Now, greed is something also very different from envy. Greed, according to Klein, is an impetus and insatiable craving, exceeding what the subject needs and what the environment can possibly provide to the subject. Klein here provides a prototype, the infant, the suckling rascal, a needy creature if there ever was one. The infants that Klein is describing are perpetually dependent on the breast for sustenance and pleasure. Klein thinks that the infant imagines the breast as this mighty and powerful, giving thing. The breast gives a lot, but because it gives a lot, there's a chance that it might stop giving, and therefore it may become menacing or even threatening. Anyway, the oral greed is the reason why the infant is so vulnerable and weak. The little brat, wants to take, appropriate that breast. The infant wants to deplete the breast, consume it. Now we're approaching the dichotomy of greed and envy. Greed and envy are two main reactions to the good breast. Greed, according to Klein, is introjective reaction. It is based on consumption, appropriation, internalization, while the envy is projective. Envy is based on destruction, the impulse to spoil, ruin, destroy, anything that holds power. And in this case, the good breast, because it holds so much power. One way of reacting to the mighty breast would be to take everything, as one does in the case of greed. The other way of reacting to the breast is to spoil it. In the case of envy, the infant undertakes to destroy the source of nourishment simply because it doesn't make sense to be so dependent on one singular omnipotent entity, the breast. Consequently, envy becomes one of the more destructive primitive mental impulses. As Klein states, envy tries to spoil the primal good object and gives added impetus to sadistic attacks on the breast. In the case of envy, such sadistic attacks are extremely severe and lengthy. According to Klein, if the child is capable of love and gratitude, if the child has a deep-rooted relationship with the good object, the breast, then the child can easily withstand temporary states of envy or hatred or grievance. In such case, the child is able to regain the good object, the breast. Such healthy development, where the relation with the breast is regained, stems from good parenting and love. Love, in a sense, consolidates a strong ego of a child. In contrast to that, the envy is the unhealthy trajectory, a trajectory that ruins, weakens child's ego. It symbolizes the inability to enjoy and consume pleasure. Isn't it interesting? Envy is based on abundance. The child doesn't know how to enjoy the good breast, and instead the child projects bad onto everything that is promising or full of hope. For such a person, good breast turns into bad breast. Love turns into animosity, and hope turns into distrust. So how can infants deal with the good breast in the way that would cultivate a more solid and stronger ego? Here, Klein introduces the concept of gratitude. Gratitude is something that is diametrically opposed to envy. Gratitude, according to Klein, is essential in building up the relation to the good object and underlines also the appreciation of goodness in others and in oneself. That is to say, gratitude is the feeling towards the good object which produces appreciation and satisfaction. In a way, envy and gratitude are reactions to the same thing, the breast. However, these reactions are absolutely, they're opposed. Envy emphasizes the need to destroy or spoil the source of nourishment, while gratitude emphasizes the need to embrace, cherish the source. By embracing the good breast, gratitude allows for generosity, in Klein's view. To quote Klein, inner wealth derives from having assimilated the good object so that the individual becomes able to share his or her gifts with others. This makes it possible to introject a more friendly outer world, and the feeling of enrichment ensues. All of this, unfortunately, can be ruined by envy. Envy interferes with the capacity for complete enjoyment of the good breast, and it undermines the feeling of gratitude. With adequate and loving parenting, envy can be disposed of. Neurotic or sadistic, destructive lapses in the child's psyche become transient. They're only temporary interruptions which can be dealt with by the strong ego, which is able to attain healthy, object relations. It is interesting to know that while Freud perceived bad patients to be those who can't overcome the Oedipal guilt, such patients don't, trust the analyst because they don't believe that they deserve a better life. Klein thought that bad patients are those who are envious, so to speak. They want to destroy the good breast. They undertake to obliterate the sense of goodness in the world. To end this episode, I would like to say this. With healthy parenting, the infant can be more attuned to the environment. The infant can become more self-sufficient and at the same time more accustomed to the objects in the world. If the child is constantly, traumatized, if the nourishment or care by the good breast is provided with no apparent consistency, at random moments and with long hiatuses, child may develop an envious relationship with the good object. Child may then undertake to spoil that which is so precious. Good breast becomes bad. Therefore, I hope that we learn from this to embrace that which is beautiful or good. Just because it's good, it is not necessarily evil. In the light of Klein's theory, let's solidify our egos. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.